Well, as we look back into the record books on this issue, we meet a man who was setting the Wimborne Road alight back 30 years ago in the 1970s. Well, in those days he was my absolute hero, but it wasn't just me that appreciated this thrill merchant.
Eric Broadbelt, got to be one of the great all-time crowd pleasers ever to have ridden out there, who's certainly one of the big thrill makers of, his era.
Yeah, he was a rider that liked to go out wide in the Martha Ram mould, and I can remember on the last bend he went so wide he left the old air filter stuck in the fence as he went by on the old two-stroke.
Yeah, I think with Eric Broadbelt, I mean, fortunately I was most of the case I was riding with him, but he was one of those riders where you knew that if he was behind you, you never looked back, you just kept your head down and kept going, and if he was in front of you, you knew you had a job in your hands trying to pass him, because he was all action, and he worked every bit of the track, and he was a very, very good rider, yeah.
When Eric came to Poole, he was an immediate hit, finishing the 74 season as top scorer. But the timing of his arrival meant that he had joined the Pirates just ahead of one of their greatest stars, Malcolm Simmons.
Just one season before, I was a little bit pig sick when Simo came, because I finished top of the averages that particular year, 74, and I knew I'd have it really hard to do it again, which unfortunately I didn't. But it still didn't matter really. I still enjoyed the Poole years, and I still finished second to Simo. But that's the way it goes, Somebody's going to be number one, and I wasn't the following year.
Eric's style was similar to that of later heroes such as Michael Leahy or Krzysztof Cegelski. Real throttle grabbing round the boards, and of course never give up.
Yeah, probably brought that with me from the Bellevue days, because that was the big track and the big just wind it on, and I found it I could do it at Poole as well, which suited me. It suited me down to the ground, to be honest, and maybe excited the crowd, but it sort of excited me as well, plus give me a few nerve-wracking moments, getting a little bit close to the fence and a time or two hitting it, and not always crashing. I remember hitting it on that bottom corner down there and just bouncing off the kickboard and still managing to win the race, but that's just one of those things, and I enjoyed it.
Eric really was a thrill maker in an era when riders didn't necessarily hang off the bikes like they do nowadays. Eric was all action. When Brody went out the pit gate, you knew you were going to see somebody really lay it on the line. Always famous for his dashes around the outside. There were probably many times when he got back in the pits there would be white paint or yellow paint from the kickboards. He really gave everything that there was to give in Speedway. He was a thrill maker without any buddy getting anywhere near him really in those days. Of course, in those days riders didn't travel as much like they do nowadays. We take it for granted that riders would travel from, say, England to Sweden or from Poland into England to ride. In Eric's day, they didn't do it. They maybe drove 30, 40 miles to a meeting. Eric, of course, had to travel all the way down from Manchester every week. Wasn't like it is now,
Yeah, I think it's done more now. It seems to be done more now than it was then. But I mean, when I chose, when I was being transferred, when I asked for a transfer from Bellevue, it was either Exeter or Poole I was going to come to. I don't know how it came about that. But one time Wolverhampton to him with a shout, trying to sign me. But Poole was the team I really wanted to come to, because Exeter's the sort of track you either get 12 points or no points. But Poole was a really good track. I remember having a good meeting here season before, or a couple of seasons before, with Bellevue, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the track, enjoyed the racing, enjoyed the atmosphere, and I'm glad I came.
Well, the fans were glad to have him, and Eric's career seemed at its height whilst wearing the skull and crossbones. In fact, I believe it was only a series of injuries which kept him from really blossoming into greatness. So does Eric agree that the Poole years were amongst his best?
Yes, I think so. I mean, you have your ups and downs in all parts of your career, and starting at Bellevue, then coming to Poole, and then going back up north again to Halifax, Sheffield. I had good times in them all. But I think Poole was probably the four most enjoyable Speedway years that I had over my career. Fantastic.
Yeah, so riding with Eric it was great fun. I mean, he was very, very serious about his racing, but as I say, and riding with him with his all-action style, you could watch Eric, and he was one of those riders who would win a race by a mile, and then if he was behind, he'd chase all the way, 4 laps, flat out. That was it. Like I said before, you didn't look back when you had Eric behind you because you knew he was on your case, and say until you went across that line, and then you could relax. But to say, we had a great team spirit in those days. Oh, actually they do nowadays. But to say it was very good, had some great characters, and that's what Speedway was all about.
Well, obviously, it's. I remember all the riders. There was Smithy, Simo. He was so good at the starts. He had a heck of a job keeping up with him out the starts. He didn't cheat. He didn't anticipate the starts. He was brilliant out the starts. And then you had the up and coming riders like Yatesy, Midlow, young Midlow with all his hair,
yeah.
which he hasn't got now. Krista Shoston, who lived in Manchester, so we travelled not together, but we travelled up and down. Or home at least a similar time after the meeting, so a lot of happy memories from Poole, really happy memories.
By his own admission, it was a long time ago that Eric graced the Wimborne Road Shale, and things have changed a great deal since then, not least of course the cost of being a professional speedway rider.
It certainly must be, well, it is a lot more expensive. I don't know what the actual costs are, but it's certainly 3 or 4 times more than what the actual bike itself, plus the replacement parts. I mean, I don't know figures, but I've heard of figures like so many £100 for a clutch. Well, a clutch probably used to cost you about 30 quid. All the plates and the lot. So it's gone up a lot. But having said that, when I think back, I think, yeah, well, Poole was a few years ago, but it's 29 years since I was at Poole. I didn't realise it. I was only talking about it the other day before I was coming down here. I didn't realise 29 years. It had gone so quick, but it has. But it doesn't seem like 29 years ago. And I feel I could be riding tomorrow, but I am too old now, unfortunately.
Well, those knocks may of course have taken their toll on the man. Possibly his worst came here on the first bend at Poole in 1977 when he crashed headlong into the fence about here. On that occasion he suffered broken ribs, a broken shoulder and a punctured lung. But in typical style, Eric bounced back, and he was racing again later that season. Well, even now, does he have any regrets about those injuries or about his career?
No, people ask me this, what did you remember those accidents, or would you do it again, etc. But as far as I'm concerned, I'd ride Speedway. If somebody said, right, I'm not 20 years off your life, what do you want to do? Do you want to? And I'll give you a chance to do something, still make some money and have a good life. Or would you do Speedway? I would do Speedway. But even knowing that you're going to get injured, and knowing that it was going to happen again, it's just the impact, the time it happens. You think about it. Oh, my bike, is it my bike bent? But all riders think that, not just me. They're all the same. You'd ride. Your injuries just happen. It hurts, and then it's over with. The excitement is well worth the pain, without a doubt. So yeah, I'd do it all again tomorrow, if I could.
Well, it really has been a privilege to compile this feature on a man who brought so much pleasure and excitement to my younger days. I'm sure that many of you watching will agree with the sentiments, and for any of you who didn't have the good fortune to see him in action, I'm only sorry that we aren't able to provide you with some video footage so that you can really see what it was like. But take it from me anyway, he really was a pirate star.